Well, joining us this morning is Mr. Sports, Bruce Peterson. Hi, Bruce. How's it
Top
going?
of the morning to you, Luke.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Is that sun out there?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's supposed to be.
You brought it in, didn't you?
I did. I
On
brought
top
it
of the
in.
hill.
I did. I brought it in.
Great to see you this morning. So much going on in sports. Pirates, Steelers. I see this week Mike Sullivan thanked the Pittsburgh fans in a very heartfelt message.
Too bad.
Where do you want to start?
We can start with the Penguins.
Okay.
It looks like it's down to two guys, DJ Smith and Mitch Love. Mitch Love is a assistant coach at Washington, and Smith is a assistant coach at L.A.
All right. If you're ownership, who are you picking?
I kind of like Love. They're both defensive-minded coaches. Imagine that. Yeah. A team that can't play defense, they're going to bring in coaches that are defensive-minded. So probably a good idea.
So have you I'm trying to just the way you kind of said the too bad to Mike Sullivan. I mean, you love the guy.
I did.
But you're also somebody that's like, okay, well, that's the past now. We're moving on.
Yeah, I've gotten over my, never watching the Penguins again. I'm over that.
Were you over? Really? Were you into it?
I was really ticked.
Okay. Now, are you looking at these two guys and saying, okay, well, listen, I'm mad, but maybe there is something to this?
Well, I really like Mitch Love. I listened to an interview. He's smart. He's kind of a lot like Sullivan. He's big voice, definitive. He when I watched the interview, he said, he reminds me a lot of Sullivan. He's kind of like a Sullivan clone. Maybe a little more of a defensive guy. So I was happy to see that. I mean, I immediately liked him because he has presence.
Yeah.
And to me, coaches have to have presence, and he has it in spades. And he was talking about his defensive philosophy, and it's kind of like what Penguin needs. Stick on stick defense, and so he's kind of my choice. But I think the other guy is good too, DJ Smith. I wasn't able to find an interview with him to kind of hear what he had to say, but. The boss said they wanted to make a decision by June 1st, and that's Sunday.
Wow!
So these are the last two guys that they've interviewed.
The Penguins have such a rich history. I'm sure both of them are like, "Hey, this would be kind of cool."
This is a good job, and you got Sidney Crosby, and you got a plethora of young draft picks coming. I think 13 draft picks this year. So they're gonna. And they've brought in already some other young players. So,
and I think you've talked over the years, like they have a pretty good system in place for bringing in talent.
They do. They're a good team, and they evaluate well. But they've been trading away their higher draft picks in recent years for veteran players. So now they're going to go in the other direction. They're going to keep their draft picks and bring in a lot of young players. And it's like in the pros, like any sport. You draft a lot of people, and you find out who can play.
Yeah. I haven't it's kind of weird because I think with the Pirates, with the Steelers, whenever there's a coaching change, I mean, people talk about it. Players, you hear things. Sullivan, to me, and maybe I just haven't looked, it's been kind of quiet, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they let him go. But there hasn't been like this brewing of, things coming out where people are players are upset, or it's been kind of weird in that regard.
It's been quiet. Yeah, I agree. But it's off season. I mean, the players are not around the facility. They're all gone.
Yeah.
So that might have something to do with it. But Crosby and Sullivan were very close.
Right.
And I'm sure Crosby hates to see him go.
Yeah. And maybe they're professional enough where things that were said behind closed
doors.
Crosby
is. Crosby would never speak out in public. He's a consummate pro.
Right.
He would never do that to the organization, and but things change.
Yeah.
Got to roll with the changes.
All right. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you can't cry over spilled milk, or if you do it in your bedroom and don't let anybody see.
Be a man about it.
That's right. Man up.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else with Penguins?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, the two coaches, and it'll once they make the decision, then we can talk about it and see what they're like, and blah blah blah. I did want to talk a little bit about the Pirates today. First 2 weeks of May, they were 3-9. The second 2 weeks, they're 6-5. So I like what I'm seeing. The Pirates are definitely playing better, and they brought up a young kid, Ashcroft, and he pitched 3 innings in relief and was outstanding. Boy, they got a lot of good young pitchers. They really do. And the Chandler's still down there. He has a 1.27 ERA. I mean, he's having a terrific season. And now Jones, their one big star from last year, is going to be out for the year. He had ACL surgery, and so he's gone. But all in all, I really like where the team's at. The starting catcher's hurt, but Davis, the young draft picks, came up, and now he's starting to hit. And so the whole team's starting to hit.
Well, that was a big concern when you could only maybe put up 4 runs. And
right. It's been a problem.
It has been. But as you said, they've gotten the bats going the last week and a half or so.
Yeah. And I think the new manager has had something to do with that. He's a lot more high energy. So, Shelton was a nice guy, but very low key. And the new guy is not so low key. He's a little more energetic, and I think maybe holding people to a little more accountability. And they brought in an old veteran, Lamont, to kind of be his bench coach. And Lamont's a really great baseball mind, so I see him in the dugouts talking together all the time. So you always got to, in baseball, you need a good sounding board, too. So we'll see.
Okay.
But I predict that they're going to, by the end of this season, they're going to have to start putting together some win streaks. I just kind of like where they're at. I know I'm the eternal optimist. I get that.
Well,
folks.
so in terms of making that manager change, good call, or is this kind of like a little honeymoon bump with the way the players have responded, or do you think?
No, I think it was a good call.
Do you think the coach is injecting some
call.
Energy to the team?
I remember when they changed him, the new coach. They were talking about him in the Baseball Network. He's highly regarded. Everybody was saying they know this guy. They have a lot of respect for him. So he was going to be a manager sooner rather than later. He just got a chance to do it sooner.
And in his hometown, basically.
Exactly. So, I think it was a good move. And nothing against Shelton, but they kind of needed to be shaken up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
which is probably what the Penguins were thinking, right?
I think so.
We like Sullivan, but we need a little shakeup here.
Yeah. Still don't like it, but
it
is what it is. And if the new guy comes in, if Mitch Love comes in and does well, okay.
I think, not to dwell on it, but I think that's part of the conversation with the Steelers, though, and Mike Tomlin. Maybe he's been there so long that the messages aren't maybe hitting the players as hard.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay. Well, anything else with Pirates or baseball?
No.
Okay.
No. I have written on my sheet here under Steelers. Is Aaron Rodgers really the answer? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
No.
No, he's not. And I'll tell you, I have been around people in public 3 times, and the subject of Aaron Rodgers is brought up, and to a person, men and women,
yes.
They do not like it. And I don't think he should come to Pittsburgh. I really don't. And then now Bradshaw's come out.
Yes.
It's called the Steelers a joke. A joke. Now Bradshaw's outspoken, but that's pretty harsh words. And there's been a lot of other people say the same thing.
Has Ben come out directly and said that, or he's just sort of?
He's kind of holding his water.
Yeah.
Yeah. He hasn't made really definitive comments, but I don't know. I don't.
You know what's interesting? I keep waiting for this. I think this would be big because he's had Will Howard on his podcast. He has not had Mason Rudolph. Now, he hasn't said terrible things about Mason.
No, he said good things about Mason.
He has.
And so the players. Players like Mason. In fact, Roman Wilson said he's an elite quarterback, really locked in and bought in. Everyone likes him. He's a good dude. That's one player.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the elite part, but, hey.
Yeah.
My understanding is he's been a solid leader so far. And
I've seen some analysts come out and say that at this point in his career, he's probably better than Rodgers.
I've also been reading that Will Howard is looking really good.
Right? He's a rookie. That's the only thing against him. He's a rookie, but and then Ed Bouchette, the old Post-Gazette guy, came out and said that he likes Howard and Mason, and he thinks they should bring in Carson Wentz to be the other quarterback and go that way.
It's been interesting, Bruce, because I've I read a story that said that Arthur Smith doesn't want Rodgers there, and it's really Tomlin.
It's Tomlin.
Maybe ownership,
it's
but Tomlin.
It is Tomlin. I agree. It's Tomlin, and I don't know why. In fact, Kovacevic on DK Sports had a big, long podcast yesterday just about Tomlin's ability to pick quarterbacks. And he said, and there's maybe a point here, he said that most of the time he's been there, he's had Roethlisberger. Well, it is what it is. You got Ben, and you don't need to think about quarterbacks. But since then, some of the choices haven't been real good. Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Wilson and now Rodgers.
Yeah, but look at the other side of this whole quarterback story too. Is if you bring in somebody like Rodgers, if there is any potential with Will Howard, you're sort of now putting that at risk of giving him some proper attention.
I think the thing with Rodgers that people are concerned about is that we've kind of heard that he can be a bit toxic at times. Now, I don't know what that means. Does that mean that, does he ignore the other quarterbacks? Does he kind of keep to himself? Does he make comments that are negative? I don't know what that means, but there's kind of that, he kind of has that side to him. He's a smart guy. I've seen him on an interview. He's a smart guy. He's not dumb.
Yeah, I think part of it, though, is him not taking responsibility for maybe his actions at times.
Could be.
Almost a Big Ben type of a thing where, because Ben at the last couple of years would make comments at press conferences, somebody didn't run the right route. And it's like,
right.
Okay, well, maybe talk about you first.
Talk about that in the locker room.
Yeah.
Don't talk about that on the air. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're right. It's almost Flacco was put in this position just the other day, and the media was trying to get him on this, where I think it was mentioned like he's not there to train the other quarterbacks, but I don't think that's exactly what he said. I think he was just saying, whatever I say, you're going to take it and turn it into something, when that's not the case. Maybe I'm not here to directly work with the other quarterbacks, but I'm there working with them.
I will be,
yes,
I will be imparting knowledge from time to time.
Right. Yeah. You're watching the Morning Drill on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Mr. Sports, Bruce Peterson with us here. So yeah, I don't know. What's your take on all that? So not only do you have to deal with fans, but you got Arthur Smith who's saying I don't want him necessarily.
Yeah, and that's pretty. That's pretty big. Arthur Smith is the guy that runs the offense.
Yes.
He kind of wants players to fit into his system. And the reason why Russell Wilson's gone is he wouldn't throw over the middle of the field between the numbers. He wouldn't throw there, and that's a big part of Smith's offense, and that's why Wilson's not there. It's not because he didn't like Russell Wilson couldn't play football. He just wouldn't throw in the middle of the field between the numbers, which is a big part of his offense, and so he's got to find somebody that can do that. So, players have to fit schemes. And obviously Wilson didn't, although I thought Wilson did some good things in Pittsburgh.
Sure, yes.
But, didn't fit the offensive coordinator's philosophy or scheme or whatever. So I don't know what's going to happen. Don't you think, we're just kind of speculating here, don't you think there's a drop dead date that the Steelers have? They're not going to wait forever. We're into OTAs now. We're almost in the mini camp. I mean,
I think that. Yeah, I don't know.
How patient are they going to be?
This is what's telling to me is I think they're okay with. They're saying I think we're okay with who we have.
Yeah,
we're comfortable.
I agree.
We're comfortable with that.
They're fine with who they got.
So if he signs, fine. If he doesn't, fine.
Right.
But I still think just to get that cloud away from you, just say, hey, listen, we appreciate you even thinking about it.
We're moving on.
We're moving on.
Yeah. Catch you later.
We got the draft coming to Pittsburgh next year.
It might play into what's best for Rodgers is that in the middle of the season, some team's going to need a quarterback, and so he'll sign with them and be the hero.
Yeah.
That might be what's best for him.
Sure.
And I think right now with Pittsburgh, I think he comes to Pittsburgh, I think he gets booed loudly every time he comes on the field. I don't know if I'd want to go through that. Just being honest. So, I don't know. It needs to play. It needs to come to some kind of a conclusion here relatively quickly, according to my opinion. And I think the Steelers feel the same. And I think they're happy with who they got. I think they're happy with Mason Rudolph being the quarterback this year. I do.
Yeah, and I tell you, I'm really excited about I think they're trying to get rid of the preseason games, right?
Well, they're down to
add that 18th week.
Yeah, they're 3, and they're going to get down to 2 in the 18th game, and then with 2 byes. Yeah. So that's what they want, and it appears that that's going to be sooner rather than later. Yeah. So it's coming.
So I'm kind of excited to see what Will Howard can do in those preseason games and how he looks.
Yeah.
Hey, the other thing, Bruce, I think we're just, under 100 days now till the start of the NFL season.
Oh, yeah. It's not far.
How about college football?
Yeah. It's coming. In fact, I'm going to talk about the Penn State schedule.
Okay.
The first 4 games are determined time. August 30th versus Nevada, 3:30 on CBS. September 6th versus FIU, Florida International, at noon on Big Ten Network. September 13th is Villanova at 3:30 on Fox Sports 1. And then 27th is a whiteout game against Oregon. Yeah. September 27th versus Oregon, 7:30 p.m. whiteout game on NBC.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then on October 11th, the Northwestern game, it's going to be either at noon, 3:30, or 4. Well, it won't be at night. So, and then they play UCLA on the 4th, Iowa on the 18th, at Ohio State on the 1st, and then they come home for Indiana on November 8th. November 15th, they're at Michigan State. They come home versus Nebraska on the 22nd. And then the 29th, they're at Rutgers. They have 2 byes this year. They have a bye in the 4th week and a bye in the 7th week. So they're breaking the season up to give teams rest, which the NFL will do if they go to 18 weeks. They have 2 byes.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Because I don't think the Steelers were happy this year. I mean, they're happy that the schedule's a little bit better, but that bye comes early for them.
They keep getting early byes. You want them 12th, 13th game, not 3rd game. Come on.
Yeah, speaking of that game on CBS, this is Gary Danielson's last year calling games for CBS.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Brad Nessler will be joined, I believe, by Charles Davis, who's leaving the NFL.
I like Brad Nessler. I think he's one of the best.
Yeah.
I've always liked him. He has a nice voice, he has a nice personality. I just like the way he calls the game.
Yeah. Gary, sometimes, a lot of people pick on Gary. I think he was a big Alabama. Well, over the years, it seemed like he favored Alabama a lot of times, but, whatever.
And he's got a voice that's not real pleasing to listen to. I mean, he's okay.
Yeah.
But Nessler has that golden voice.
Right.
Who was the old time on college football? The old guy that was the
Vern Lundquist?
No, not him. There was another guy before him, big guy. It was kind of like the voice of college football. He's been retired now about 10 years. Can't think of the name of him. I'll look him up and we'll cover it next week.
There you go. Anything else in sports?
Not too much, really. Didn't we miss the Preakness? Wasn't the Preakness last week? Yeah, we missed the Preakness last week.
And the Indy 500?
Yeah, the Indy 500 is coming up.
I thought it was last weekend, wasn't it?
I don't know. Was it? I'm so on top of it.
Things I don't talk to you about. Golf? Racing?
Yeah, no, I know nothing about golf. No, I think you're right. It's always around
Memorial Day.
Yeah, so I don't even know who won.
I have never been able to get into racing.
I used to follow the Indianapolis 500. I had an uncle, John, who loved Indy race. In fact, he went to a couple of races, and he had photographs in his basement of all the winning drivers over the years. And so I kind of got into it because of him, because every time I get on there, we talk about racing. You know, he was really into it. But, yeah, it's never been high on my list. And I know nothing about NASCAR. Although there's a movie out now about Earnhardt.
Yes.
Earnhart, yeah. It's on Netflix. I haven't watched it, but it's really popular. A lot of people watch it.
Bruce, good to see you this morning.
You too.
All the best.
See you next week will be June.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy.